Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Dhiraye Nashtaprayeshu Patreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nistiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namaste Namo Pankajanabhaya Namo Pankajamalini Namo Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajangri. Hare Krishna. So we'll take a shloka from Srimad Bhagavatam, text 44, Canto 7, Chapter 9, text 44. Okay. Ayena deva munaya svavimukti kama maunam charanti vijane na parartha nishtam naitan vihaya kripanan vimuktasya eko vimuksha eko nanyam tvad asya charanam brahmato anupashye. So here the translation is by His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Sri Prabhupada. My dear Lord Narasimhadeva, I see that there are many saintly persons indeed, but they are interested only in their own deliverance. Not caring for big cities and towns, they go to the Himalayas or the forest to meditate with vows of silence, Mauna Vrita. They are not interested in delivering others. As for me, however, I do not wish to be liberated alone. Leaving aside all these poor fools and rascals, I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. Therefore, I wish to bring them back to shelter at your lotus feet. Purport. This is the decision of a Vaishnava, the pure devotee of the Lord. For himself, he has no problems. Even if he has to stay in this material world, because his only business is to remain in Krishna consciousness. The Krishna conscious person can go even to hell and still be happy. Therefore, Prahlada Maharaj said, Naivo dvije para duratyaya vaitaranya. O best of the great personalities, I am not at all afraid of material existence. The pure devotee is never unhappy in any condition of life. This is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam 6.17.28. Narayana para sarve na kutaschana bibhyati swarga pavarga narakesha api tulyartha darshina. Devotees solely engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, never fear any condition of life. For them, the heavenly planets, liberation, and the hellish planets are all the same. For such devotees are interested only in the service of the Lord. For a devotee being situated in the heavenly planets and being in the hellish planets are equal. For a devotee lives neither in heaven nor in hell, but with Krishna in the spiritual world. The secret of success for the devotee is not understood by the karmis and jnanis. Karmis therefore try to be happy by material adjustment, and jnanis want to be happy by becoming one with the Supreme. The devotee has no such interest. He is not interested in so-called meditation in the Himalayas or the forest. Rather, his interest is in the busiest part of the world, where he teaches people Krishna consciousness. That's why Prabhupada wanted us to concentrate on big cities, not in remote places. The Krishna consciousness movement was started for this purpose. We do not teach one to meditate in a secluded place just so that one may show that he has become very much advanced and may be proud of his so-called transcendental meditation, although he engages in all sorts of foolish materialistic activity. A Vaishnava like Prahlada Maharaj is not interested in such a bluff of spiritual advancement. Rather, he is interested in enlightening people in Krishna consciousness, because that is the only way for them to be happy. Prahlad Maharaj says clearly, Nanyam Tvad Asya Charanam Brahmato Anupyashe. I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. One wanders within the universe, life after life. One wanders within the universe, life after life. But by the grace of a devotee, a servant of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one can get the clue to Krishna consciousness and then not only become happy in this world, but also return home, back to Godhead. This is the real target in life. The members of Krishna consciousness movement are not at all interested in so-called meditation in the Himalayas or in the forest, where one will only make a show of meditation. Nor are they interested in opening many schools for yoga and meditation in the cities. Rather, every member of Krishna consciousness movement is interested in going door to door to try to convince people about the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita as it is, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. This is the purpose of Krishna consciousness movement. The members of the Krishna consciousness movement must be fully convinced that without Krishna, one cannot be happy. Thus, the Krishna conscious person avoids all kinds of pseudo-spiritualists, transcendentalists, meditators, monists, philosophers, and philanthropists. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamiyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaisnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajata Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Shri Vishakhanvitamsha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktaranda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Welcome all of you for today's Bhagavatam class. I'm happy that all of you, whoever has joined, 5 of you, including me, have taken special leave from your day-to-day work and thought it would help you to hear something about Srimad Bhagavatam. I am grateful to Achyut Gopal Prabhu, also Parandayal Prabhu, for giving me this opportunity. And I will speak about Prahlada Maharaj's pastime, part 2. In part 1, we have seen last time mainly the lineage from Dhruva Maharaj to Daksha Prajapati, Brahma's son, and this time born as Kshatriya. Earlier, in the earlier life, he was a Brahman. As we went along, we briefly saw the stories of King Anga and Vena, Putu Maharaj, Antardana, Prachetas, etc. before coming to Daksha Maharaj. Daksha Prajapati, as we had seen, had 60 daughters, of which 17 were given in marriage to Kashyapa Muni. And one of the 17 was Diti, the mother of Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. We also had seen how Hiranyakashipu had pleased Lord Brahma austerities, severe austerities, and got the boon. And we also have seen his behavior thereafter, particularly dealing with the demigods and also with the Prahlada Maharaj as a child. So in spite of all this, Prahlada Maharaj was undisturbed because he was fully surrendered to Krishna and he had full confidence in Krishna's abilities to protect him. So at the age of 5, we stopped here last time. At the age of 5, Prahlada had started preaching Bhagavad Dharma to his fellow mates in the school of Shanda and Amarka whenever they were temporarily away. So that is how he started. And the boys were very keen on hearing from Prahlada Maharaj because he was friendly with them, no doubt. He was being invited to play with them, but he said he was not very much keen on joining them for play. But he had a good spiritual education, as we have seen, as we will be seeing from from Narad Muni. So with that background, he started preaching to his fellow mates in the class, who were all the sons of Asuras. There are many teachings, but we do not have the time, nor it is possible for us to deal with all those preachings, because it will be quite lengthy and a little boring. So I would pick a few of the preachings just to give an indication of his status of mind. He said, one who is sufficiently intelligent should begin the practice of devotional service from the tender age of childhood. The human form of life is very rarely achieved. And although it is temporary like other bodies, it is very important because one who can use it to perform devotional service can attain complete perfection. And it has to be started early in life. Just as distress is obtained without any endeavor, happiness also is achieved automatically. You don't have to make any special endeavor for achieving happiness. For this reason, endeavors for economic development and sense gratification, as long as are a waste of time. Instead, he said, as long as the body is still stout and strong, one should try to become Krishna conscious in order to come to the spiritual platform of eternity and bliss. For one who cannot control his senses, half of his lifetime is wasted in sleeping. In childhood, one passes first 10 years in complete bewilderment, and the next 10 years in games and sports, and the last 20 years in old age. With the uncontrolled mind, one easily becomes attached to family life and thus cannot engage in the devotional service of the Lord. For a materialistic person, money is sweeter than honey, and therefore engages himself in fully in earning that money for household life, however troublesome it is, because he doesn't care at that time how difficult it is. Because the core of his heart is the pictures of his dear and near ones, and how can he give up their association? See, the wife is always very kind and sympathetic and gratifies the senses of her husband. The small children speak in broken words, sentences that are very pleasing to the parents to hear. And there are also other objects of attachment, such as parents, animals, etc. And who would give that kind of comforts that is available in the material world? So what happens is he becomes like a silkworm that weaves a cocoon in which he becomes imprisoned and cannot come out. Similarly, for that satisfaction of the tongue and genitals, one is bound up by material conditions and thus cannot escape. It's very difficult for them to escape. He is thus simply wasting his time, and he cannot understand the human life meant for self-realization. Human life is meant for self-realization, which he cannot understand. Then he says, my dear friends, those who are bereft of knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and are addicted to sense gratification, and thus they become plaything in the hands of attractive women. They become surrounded by home and relatives, and in this way, they are shackled to material life. So ultimately, he says, although you are all sons of demons, you should stay aloof from such persons and take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, who awards his devotees liberation from the bondage of material existence. Therefore, please act in such a way that the Supreme Lord becomes satisfied with you. The transcendental knowledge was formally explained by Lord Narayana himself to the great Saint Narada. I received this knowledge, he says, which is called Bhagavad Dharma from Narada Muni, and it is based on logic and philosophy. The sons of demigods then inquired, since we remain within this palace and do not have any chance to associate with a saintly personality, how are we able to hear all this from Narada? Neither you nor we know of any teacher other than the sons of Shukracharya, Krish, Chanda and Amarka. Prahlada then had to explain how he got this education. He said, when my father went to the Mandarachala mountain to execute severe austerities, the demigods made an all-out effort to subdue the demons in his absence. The demons began fleeing in all directions, and leaving aside their homes and family members, they all left the palace and other nearby places. The victorious demigods then plundered Hiranyakashipu's palace, and at that time King Indra arrested my mother. And as she was being led away by my mother was bitterly crying. And when the great sage Narada appeared upon the scene and ordered Indra to release her, saying that she is a chaste woman and a wife of another, you cannot do this for her. So Indra replied, O Narada Muni, this seed, what you say is right, but then the seed of the great demon, Hiranyakashipu, is within this woman's womb. And so let her remain in our custody until the child is born. Narada then said, the child within this womb is sinless, and he is a powerful servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And because of that, you will not be able to kill him, even if you want. So Indra respected Narada's views, his words, and immediately released my mother. Therefore, Narada brought my mother to his ashram and assured her of all protection until the return of my father. My mother then asked Narada Muni for the benediction that I would remain within her womb until the time she once again meets my father. So Narada consented to this, and thus she began fearlessly serving him with great devotion. Narada Muni delivered instructions both to me, who was within the womb of my mother, and to my mother. However, since my mother was more concerned about my welfare, and also due to her being less intelligent, my mother has forgotten all that, Narada Muni, but I have not. So therefore, my dear friends, if you can place your faith in my words, you can also receive this transcendental knowledge. Prahlada Maharaj thus continued to instruct his school friends regularly to ultimately drive home the point that all of them should take to devotional service so that they can satisfy the Supreme Lord, which alone is the ultimate goal of life. All of the demons demon sons appreciated Prahlada's transcendental instructions, and took them very seriously. As a result, they rejected Shanda and Amarka, their materialistic teachings, and when the teachers saw how their students are becoming advanced in Krishna consciousness rather than materialistic studies, and they thought it is all because of Prahlada Maharaj's association, they became very afraid because they knew that Hiranyakashipu will break them to pieces. So what they did was, they took Prahlada Maharaj himself to his father and explained everything. After understanding the situation, Hiranyakashipu decided to kill Prahlada Maharaj with his own hands. He tried everything else in the past, but it did not work. Hiranyakashipu then chastised Prahlada, saying, "You are the most impudent disruptor of our family. You have violated my authority. You rascal, by whose power have you become so impudent that you fearlessly usurp my authority?" So Prahlada said, "My dear father, the source of my strength is also the source of yours. Everyone, including Lord Brahma, is controlled by the strength of the Supreme Lord. Please give up your demoniac mentality. Except for the uncontrolled and misguided mind, there is no real enemy in this world. And your enemies are because of your uncontrolled mind, misguided mind." Hiranyakashipu said, "You rascal, you are trying to minimize my value. I can understand that you wish to be killed by me. For such nonsensical talk is indulged only by those who are about to die. You always describe a supreme person other than me, who is control of everyone and is all pervading." And he asked him, "Where is he now, your supreme personality, God? If he is everywhere, then why is he present in this pillar before me? Because you are speaking so much nonsense, I shall now sever your head from your body. Let me see your most worshipful God, whether he comes and protects you." So while Hiranyakashipu was threatening to kill him, Prahlada saw the Lord present in the pillar before him, telling him not to worry. Don't be afraid of his demoniac father. He says, being obsessed with anger, Hiranyakashipu took out his sword, and after chastising and cursing Prahlada again and again, getting up from his throne, Hiranyakashipu went and violently struck his fist against the column with great rage. Miraculously, from within the shattered pillar came a fearful and tumultuous sound that reached even the abode of Lord Brahma and seemed to crack the covering of the universe. Then, to prove Prahlada's statement that he is present everywhere, the Supreme Personality of Godhead emerged from the pillar and exhibited a wonderful form that had never been seen before. Hiranyakashipu studied the form of the Lord and wondered, what kind of creature is this that is half man and half man? The form of the Lord was extremely fearsome because of his angry eyes, his deadly teeth, and his razor-sharp tongue that moved like a sword. His nostrils and gaping mouth appeared like mountain caves. His huge body reached up to the sky. appearing like a small insect before him, Hiranyakashipu attacked the Lord. Although he beat him repeatedly with his club, Lord captured him, but let him escape from his grip. Hiranyakashipu falsely thought that the Lord was afraid of him. Then as a snake pounces upon a mouse, Lord once again caught hold of Hiranyakashipu, placed him lengthwise upon his lap. Lord Narasimhadeva sat down on the doorway of the assembly hall and pressing Hiranyakashipu on his thighs, very easily tore him to pieces with his fingernails. He pierced Hiranyakashipu's abdomen with his nails, pulled out his intestines and put them on as a garland, uprooted his heart and threw his body aside. Lord also killed thousands of faithful followers of Hiranyakashipu very easily. And when he saw no one was there to oppose him, he sat down on the royal throne with the assembly hall, within the assembly hall. Hiranyakashipu had been benedicted by Lord Brahma so that he could not die on the land or in the sky. Therefore, to keep the benediction intact, Lord Narasimhadeva had placed Hiranyakashipu's body upon his lap, neither on the earth or on the sky. He had received the benediction that he would not die during day or at night. So the Lord killed him during the evening twilight time. So he was also benedicted that he would not be killed by any weapon or anything that was dead or alive. Therefore, Lord pierced his body with his nails, which were not weapons, nor were they exactly living or dead. In this way, the Lord kept all the promises made by Brahma intact and yet easily killed him. All of the classes of demigods headed by Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and Lord Indra approached Lord Narasimhadev to individually offer their obeisances and prayers. They were very much freed from fear of Hiranyakashipu and were restored to their original positions. So they expressed their deep sense of gratitude to the Lord. Still, because of Lord Narasimhadeva's very ferocious expression, even the great demigods headed by Lord Brahma and Shiva were too afraid to come and serve him directly. Even Lakshmi, who is Lord's constant companion, but had never seen such an extraordinary form of the Lord, was also afraid to go near him. Finally, Lord Brahma addressed Prahlada Maharaj, who was standing close by, to go and appease the Lord. Although Prahlada was just a small boy, he accepted Lord Brahma's request and gradually approached Lord Narasimha with folded hands. When the Lord saw Prahlada Maharaj fallen at his lotus feet to offer his obeisances, he became very affectionate towards Prahlada. After pricking up Prahlada, Lord Narasimhadeva placed his lotus hand upon the boy's head to assure him of fearlessness, which he had not done even to Brahma or Shiva or Narada. By the transcendental touch of Lord's hand, Prahlada became completely freed from all material desires and contamination. All the symptoms of ecstasy became manifest in his body. His heart became filled with love and his eyes with tears. Prahlada offered his prayers. He said in a faltered voice, "How is it possible for me, who was born in a family of asuras, to offer suitable prayers that will satisfy the Supreme Lord? Even the demigods, headed by Lord Brahma, were all very highly qualified could not specify the Lord by their excellent words, how can I? One cannot please the Lord simply by the possession of great wealth, education, prowess, etc. However, one can satisfy him simply by a little devotional service, as Gajendra did. The so-called Brahmana, being falsely proud, cannot even purify himself, whereas a devotee who has dedicated himself in the service of the Lord, even though he is a Shudra, can deliver his whole family. Your appearance in this world, my Lord, is meant for the benefit of your devotees. Now that my demonic father has been killed, please give up your anger. All saintly persons have achieved great satisfaction because of this demon's death. In the future, people will remember your auspicious incarnation as Lord Narasimhadeva to become freed from fear. My Lord, I am certainly not afraid of seeing you in this form of yours, but because I have been put into association of demons as a result of my past activities, I am very much afraid of my condition of life within this material world. When will you give me the shelter at your lotus feet? Your servant Narad Muni kindly accepted me as his disciple and instructed me how to achieve the transcendental position. Therefore, my first duty is to serve him. I see that there are many saintly persons, but they are generally interested only in their personal salvation and not interested in delivering others. I do not wish to be liberated alone. I wish to bring all the conditioned souls back to the shelter of your lotus feet. The verse that we read and the translation and purport that we read was this. After hearing Prahlada Maharaj's prayers, Lord Narasimhadev became pacified and gave up his anger. With great kindness, Lord said to Prahlada, O best in the family of Asuras, may there be all good fortune for you. I am very pleased with you. And because it is my pastime to fulfill your desires of all living entities, I request you to ask from me any benediction that you may desire. So Prahlada Maharaj said, in spite of being allured like this, being a pure devotee of the Lord, did not want any material benediction, for he considered them to be impediments in his spiritual progress. He said, my dear Lord, one who desires some material benefit in exchange for devotional service cannot be a pure devotee. Indeed, he is no better than a merchant who wants some profit in exchange of his service. So I am your unmotivated servant and you are my eternal master. If you at all want to bestow a desirable benediction upon me, then I pray that no material desires ever enter the core of my heart. Lord said, a pure devotee like you never desires any kind of material opulence, either in this life or in the next. I order you to enjoy the opulence of demons by acting as their king until the end of the present Manvantara. So there are so many prayers of Prahlada Maharaj, which for reasons you all know, I'm not retailing them. So he also said, always remain absorbed in thought of me by rendering devotional service. While remaining within the material world, you will exhaust the reactions of pious activities by feeling happiness, and by acting piously, you will neutralize the reactions of impious activity. Then eventually, you will give up your body and return home back to Godhead. Prahlada Maharaj said, O Supreme Lord, because you are so merciful to the fallen souls, I wish to ask for only one benediction. I know that my father has already been purified due to your having glanced upon him at the time of his death and having touched him. However, I wish that my father may be excused for his offenses against you and your devotees. The Lord said, my dear son, your fathers have already been purified by the touch of my body at the time of his death. Not only that, altogether 21 of your forefathers as well will be liberated as a result of your having taken birth in this dynasty. You are the best example of my pure devotee, and so others should follow your footsteps. Still, it is the duty of a son to perform the Shraddha ceremony after his father's death, so that he will be promoted to a higher planetary system, where he may gradually become converted into a devotee. After performing the Shraddha ceremony, sit down on the royal throne and take charge of your father's kingdom. So Lord Brahma was very pleased now that Lord Narasimhadeva's anger was pacified. He prayed that it is our great fortune that you have killed this sinful demon who was giving trouble to the entire universe. On the strength of benedictions that he had received from me, he became excessively proud and transgressed all of the Vedic injunctions. The Supreme Personality of Godhead replied, my dear Brahma, just as it is dangerous to feed milk to a snake, it is dangerous to give benedictions to demons, for they are by nature ferocious and envious. I warn you, do not give such benedictions to any demon again. So after being worshipped by Lord Brahma, Lord Narasimhadeva disappeared from that place. Prahlada then worshipped and offered prayers to all demigods headed by Lord Brahma and Shiva. Thereafter, with the assistance of Shukracharya and other Brahmanas, Lord Brahma enthroned Prahlada as the king of all the asuras within the universe. And after offering Prahlada Maharaj their benedictions, the demigods left to their end. So this is the pastime of Prahlada Maharaj. So from this and in part one what we have seen and part 2 what we have seen today, there are certain points to ponder. So I have listed few of them. We will quickly see them, another 5-10 minutes. Both Lord, not Lord, Vena and Prahlada, their birth were in different circumstances. Now, how do you see Krishna's hand in everything? King Anga and Sunita, who had Sunita had a demoniac background, King Anga's wife, had no children. So they performed Ashwamedha sacrifice and got a son called Vena. Vena grew up to be very religious, and despite his father's best efforts, he could not be brought back to the path of righteousness. Whereas in the case of Prahlada, despite his father's demonic background, his mother Kayadu was instructed on Bhagavad Dharma by Narad Muni in his ashram, and Prahlada thus got educated while still in mother's womb. So can we see Krishna's hand in this? So there is Krishna's hand in everything. So Vena's birth, Vena became religious, Prahlada became religious, very Krishna conscious. Second point is Daksha, originally a Brahmana, getting birth as a Kshatriya. See, the Daksha Yajna had taken place during the Swayambhuva Manvantara, the fourth Manvantara, when Daksha had offended Lord Shiva. Because of this, in his next life, he was born as a Kshatriya. Lord Brahma once again appointed him as the Prajapati so that he could generate living entities during the Chakshusha Manvantara. This shows that reaction to our karma in our past lives follows us without exception. If we do bhakti in this life, even if it is incomplete, we can hope to get a human form of life in our next life. So, chanting and offering services, devotional service to the Lord is very, very, very important. because all our misdeeds, sinful activities will be vanquished, and we can get a birth in a aristocratic family or in the family as Brahmanas, where you don't have to worry about your earning livelihood. You can totally concentrate on chanting the holy name of the Lord and hearing the glories of the Lord. So for that, some effort in this life is required. That is what we are expected to do. Third, Narada Muni's mission to transform whatever he meets and getting cursed. So this is the point that I am making. Narada Muni has a tendency to transform whomsoever he meets, and even if he is getting cursed, at the end he doesn't bother. So Narada Muni not only preached and transformed the life of 11,000 sons of Daksha Prajapati in 2 batches, and he went to Daksha also to preach, to transform him, and got cursed. Not only he transformed 11,000 sons of Daksha, he thought he could as well transform Daksha Prajapati himself. So he went to him, and Daksha Prajapati was very upset. In a fit of anger, he cursed. He took the curse as blessing in disguise and went about his preaching mission without any hindrance, as a true representative of the Supreme Lord. Many times we tend to make fun of Narada Muni as one who ignites fire in the relationships. But we must understand and appreciate that he does it only to hasten the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. As a true representative of the Supreme Lord, he does everything to help hasten the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. The story of preaching to Prahlada Maharaj while in his mother's home is a classic example of this. The fourth point that I noted is Hiranyakashipu knew the philosophy well, but he did not want to live it. So the way Hiranyakashipu gave philosophy of life to pacify his mother Diti, his nephews, his sister-in-law Vrishabhanu, sets one to wonder how a person with so much of philosophical knowledge can behave in the manner he did. He must have got some training, because after all he is the son of Kashyapa. In his childhood days, probably he must have got some training, some spiritual instructions. But His Grace Amogalila Prabhu says, each of us has good and bad dogs in us. Hiranyakashipu also had a bout of good dog in this instance, because originally he was Jaya or Vijaya, who are the great gatekeepers in Lord Vishnu's abode, Vaikuntha, who are philosophically well versed. What is, however, important is not the mere knowledge of the scriptures, but one has to live the scriptures. So there are so many scholars we see in this world who can recite all 700 shlokas of Bhagavad Gita, but then they don't know how to live Bhagavad Gita. Similarly, there are scholars, there are Brahmanas who know all scriptures very well, but they can't live life of Brahmana, true Brahmana. Why Brahmana? There are so many other people who are well versed with the spiritual knowledge, but somehow we cannot live that life, and that is useless. This spiritual knowledge is only for realizing this self-realization, and that is our goal. So if that is not there, hearing the stories and hearing the scriptural injunctions, etc., is of no use. So the fifth point that I have here is Lord Brahma granting benediction to Hiranyakashipu and then getting rebuked by the Lord. We see here that Lord Brahma is also not independent, and that his decisions or boons are also subject to scrutiny. Because of his boon, the Supreme Lord had to incarnate as Lord Narasimha, half man and half land, very intelligently. He had to keep Lord Brahma's words intact because Lord Brahma is the secondary incarnation. I mean, his incarnation, not incarnation. I mean, his son, and he is the secondary. What do you call? Secondary creator of this world. So it is his word that has got to be respected. So the Lord saw to it that he respected all his words, but then he did not forget to rebuke him. So we see, except Lord Shiva, everybody has a death. Lord Brahma also will die sooner or later. So, yeah. So next point is, if Krishna's protection is there, no one can harm us. So Prahlada Maharaj's example tells us. There is a Bengali prayer. Rakhe Krishna Mare Ke, Mare Krishna Rakhe Ke. If Krishna wants to kill you, who can save you? Nobody can save you. And if Krishna wants to protect you, who can kill you? Prahlada Maharaj is the classic example. So the sum and substance of Prahlada Maharaj's teachings, I thought I would list it down very briefly. Number one, one should begin the practice of devotional service from his childhood. 2, just as distress is obtained without endeavor, so happiness is also achieved without any endeavor and automatically. 3, with the uncontrolled mind, one easily becomes attached to family life and thus cannot engage in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. 4, one should therefore take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, and satisfy him who awards his devotees liberation from the bondage of material existence. 5, one must accept a bona fide spiritual master and render service unto him with great faith and devotion. And 6, even heavenly elevation is temporary and therefore not the real goal of life. In this world, everyone is striving to increase happiness and diminish distress. The truth is, however, that one is happy only so long as he does not endeavor for happiness. So once you try to endeavor for happiness, the happiness eludes you. Happiness runs away. So you don't have to endeavor for happiness. Happiness will come on its own, just as difficulties come in your life. Thank you so much.